The end-of-year award ceremony at Beaconwood Academy was always a grand affair. Set inside a marble-pillared auditorium glowing with chandeliers, the event brought together proud parents, high-achieving students, and the kind of excitement only a room full of expectations could carry. Students whispered and giggled in pressed uniforms, teachers checked their clipboards, and proud moms lined up their cameras, ready to capture the triumphs of their children. 13-year-old Benjamin Rain Brady sat quietly near the back. He was used to being watched, not for who he was, but because of whose son he was. Being Tom Brady's son meant never really blending in. And while other kids reveled in attention, Benjamin did not. He longed for a moment that felt purely his, unfiltered by the shadows of stadiums and trophies. As the headmaster took the stage and began announcing awards, academic excellence, community service, rising leader, the applause rang loud, echoing through the ornate hall. Benjamin clapped politely for his classmates, his thoughts drifting to the book he left half-finished in his backpack. Then came the unexpected. "And now," the headmaster boomed, "we present a very special award, the Heart of Beaconwood. This year's recipient is Benjamin Rain Brady." A split second of stunned silence swept over the room before it erupted in applause. Benjamin's eyes widened. He looked around, confused, unsure whether he heard correctly. His mother gave him an encouraging nudge and he slowly stood up. All eyes turned to him as he walked the long aisle toward the stage, each step heavy with disbelief. As he reached the steps, the headmaster leaned toward the microphone again. "I'm terribly sorry," he said, a nervous laugh trembling at the edges of his voice. "There's been a mistake. The award goes to Benjamin Rains, not Benjamin Brady." The applause died instantly. A chilling hush fell over the room. For a heartbeat, the silence was louder than any cheer. Benjamin stood frozen at the base of the steps, eyes darting between the headmaster, the plaque that bore his name, and the crowd of confused faces. A soft wave of laughter broke from the back of the hall, immature, cruel, and unmistakably intentional. Realization struck like a thunderclap. This wasn't a clerical error. It was a setup, a prank, a cruel joke at his expense. Face burning, Benjamin turned around without a word and walked back to his seat, his shoulders tight, hands clenched. His vision blurred as he passed classmates hiding smirks and teachers too stunned to intervene. His mother tried to catch his arm, but he slid past her and out of the auditorium, disappearing into the empty hallway beyond. Back inside, whispers flew like wildfire. Teachers scrambled to contain the damage, and the real Benjamin Rains accepted his award in a haze of confusion. But the weight of what had just happened couldn't be undone. Outside, Benjamin stood beneath a row of oak trees, breathing hard. The air was thick with humiliation, and his heart pounded with a blend of rage and shame. He didn't cry. He wouldn't give them that. But something inside him cracked. The moment that should have been his was twisted into a spectacle. Before we dive deeper into this emotional story, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more real-life moments that touch the heart and inspire change. The video clip was only 32 seconds long, but that was all it needed to erupt across the internet like wildfire. Someone from the audience had captured it. Benjamin walking toward the stage with a hesitant smile, the headmaster's correction, and the unmistakable laughter that followed. It was uploaded anonymously, titled, "Brady Boy Humiliated at Awards." By morning, it had over 2 million views. At home, Benjamin locked himself in his room. He refused breakfast, turned off his phone, and ignored the knocking at his door. Laura sat outside the room in silence, her forehead resting against the doorframe, whispering reassurances he didn't respond to. The silence was louder than any sob. Tom Brady watched the clip again and again, each viewing carving a deeper ache into his chest. He was used to pressure, used to criticism. But nothing in his life, no loss, no interception, no jeer from a rival fan, felt like watching his son break in front of the world. There was no playbook for this. At first, Tom wanted to storm into the school, demand accountability, find the kids responsible and make them answer for their cruelty. But Laura, tear-stained and exhausted, placed a hand on his chest and shook her head. He doesn't need fury, he needs his dad. That night, Benjamin didn't come down for dinner. Tom sat in the kitchen, untouched food in front of him, staring out the window at the darkened backyard. "He's shutting down," Laura said softly. "He feels like a joke, like he'll never be seen for who he really is." Tom nodded, but his thoughts were far away. He remembered being Benjamin's age, awkward, insecure, told he'd never make it in football, not strong enough, not fast enough. How he used to walk alone during lunch breaks, dreaming of being more. But even in those days, he'd had room to grow privately. Benjamin didn't have that luxury. By the next morning, the media frenzy had reached a fever pitch. Reporters camped outside their home. Headlines speculated about the psychological toll on Tom Brady's son. Social media swarmed with support and cruelty in equal measure. Hashtags trended, Heart of Beaconwood and Let Ben be Ben. But inside the Brady house, the walls felt thin, the rooms heavier. Benjamin emerged briefly to use the bathroom, eyes red, face pale. He passed Tom in the hallway without a word. That night, Tom stood outside his son's door again, hesitant. "I don't care about the internet," he said, voice low. "I care about you. Not what people think, not what they post. Just you, Ben." No response. Tom leaned against the wall and slid down to the floor, the hallway dim and quiet. "I've lost games, big ones, felt like the whole world was laughing at me. It sucks. It makes you want to disappear. But you know what I learned? The pain fades, and the only thing that matters is how you get back up." Still nothing. But he waited. Inside the room, Benjamin sat on the bed, knees pulled to his chest, listening. He didn't reply. Not yet, but his breathing slowed, his hands unclenched. The next morning, the front gate buzzed with paparazzi. Tom stood at the window, jaw tight. He'd protect his son no matter what. But deep down he knew that this wasn't about shielding him. It was about showing him that strength wasn't just about muscle and fame. It was about facing what hurt and choosing to heal anyway. 3 days passed. The house was quieter than usual. Laura had returned to her routines with a quiet sadness, but Tom couldn't settle. He'd been through hundreds of battles on the field, some where the stakes were the highest imaginable, but this was different. This wasn't about performance, it was about pain, and he couldn't watch his son disappear behind closed doors any longer. Without saying much, he made a decision. "Pack a bag," Tom told Benjamin one morning, standing in the doorway. "Just the basics. We're going somewhere." Benjamin looked up, confused. His father's voice wasn't commanding, it was calm, certain. He didn't ask questions. He packed a hoodie, a book, and his headphones. That was enough. They left Boston behind. No press, no entourage, no NFL-branded duffel bags. Just a father and son in a car, windows down, letting the spring wind blur the edges of everything they'd been living through. For hours they drove without destination, silence sitting comfortably between them. They passed through small towns, old gas stations, fields turning green with the season. And then, without warning, Tom pulled into a neighborhood of modest homes and quiet streets. "This is where I grew up," he said. They walked for a while, past the house where Tom had caught his first football, the school where he'd once flunked a math test and cried behind the gym. "I used to think I'd never make it," he admitted. "People told me I wasn't enough, too slow, too soft, and I believed them for a while." Benjamin listened, hands buried in his sweatshirt pocket. "But you proved them wrong," he murmured. Tom shook his head. "I stopped trying to prove anything. I started doing what I loved for me, not for them." Later that night, they set up camp in a remote clearing, stars spread above them like silent witnesses. The fire crackled, casting shadows across their faces. Benjamin stared into the flames. "Do you ever wish you weren't who you are?" he asked. Tom blinked, caught off guard. "I mean, being Tom Brady. Everyone expects everything from you, and from me because of you. It's like, I'll never be just me." The words hung in the air, raw and fragile. "I don't hate you," Benjamin said quickly. I don't know who I am without you, and I don't think anyone else does either." Tom's heart clenched. He took a deep breath. "I never wanted you to be a copy of me. I wanted you to be better. Not in achievements, but in strength, real strength. The kind it takes to say, 'This hurts,' and still get up anyway. Benjamin stared at the fire. "It's hard. Everyone thinks I have it easy." "I know," Tom replied, "but no one knows your heart like you do. And that's your power. Your voice, your kindness, your courage, that's yours alone." The silence between them deepened, not empty, but full of something unspoken and understood. The next morning, as they stopped at a roadside diner for breakfast, a stranger approached. She didn't ask for an autograph, she just smiled. "It's good to see a dad taking time, that matters." Tom nodded, grateful. Benjamin glanced up, the tiniest smile cracking through. Somewhere on that highway, in the stillness of father and son, a shift began. Not a fix, not a cure, but something softer, an understanding, a beginning. When Benjamin walked through the school gates that Monday morning, the air felt heavier than usual. He hadn't returned since the ceremony. Whispers followed him, eyes lingered, but he kept walking. Each step was uncertain but deliberate. He wasn't sure what would happen next. He just knew it was time. At the morning assembly, the auditorium buzzed as usual, students chatting in clusters, unaware of what was about to unfold. Then the principal stepped up to the microphone and cleared her throat. "Today, we have something different. A student has asked to speak. Please give your attention to Benjamin Brady." A low murmur rolled through the room. Benjamin walked to the stage holding a folded sheet of paper. His hands trembled slightly, but his voice when he began was clear. "Most of you know what happened here last week," he said. "Some of you laughed, some of you watched, and some of you just stayed quiet." The room froze. "I didn't come up here to get back at anyone," he continued. "I came because I need to say something, for myself, and maybe for others who felt the same." He unfolded the paper. "I've always been told I'm lucky, that my life must be easy, but I've spent most of it trying to prove I'm more than just someone's son. And when that prank happened, it didn't just embarrass me. It reminded me of every moment I've ever felt invisible, or like I didn't belong, like nothing I did would ever be mine." He paused, eyes scanning the crowd. No one moved. "I'm not here to make you feel bad. I'm here to ask you to think. Think before you speak. Think before you laugh. You never know what someone else is carrying." A silence, deep and total, spread through the auditorium. "Being kind isn't weakness," Benjamin said. "It's the hardest thing to do when it's not popular, but I think we need more of it, here and everywhere." When he stepped back from the mic, the room remained still. Then one student clapped, another followed. Within seconds, the entire auditorium was on its feet. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, it was honest. A moment of rare unity. In the days that followed, things began to shift. Students who had never spoken to Benjamin before stopped him in the hallway to apologize. A few of those involved in the prank came forward voluntarily, their remorse genuine, their embarrassment evident. The school administration, shaken by the incident, launched a new student-led initiative focused on empathy, inclusion, and emotional wellness. Benjamin was invited to help lead it. Even the parents got involved. At the next PTA meeting, Laura spoke openly about what the family had endured, not as celebrities but as people. Her words resonated deeply. For Tom, watching all this unfold from the sidelines was like witnessing a kind of magic he'd never known. He wasn't the one making plays this time. He wasn't the one holding the spotlight. And that was exactly how it should be. One afternoon, after school, Benjamin came home with a simple folder in his hand. Inside was a copy of his speech, printed and signed by every teacher in the school with notes scribbled in the margins. Powerful. "Thank you. You made us proud." He handed it to his father. "I didn't think I could do it," Benjamin said softly. Tom looked at the pages, then at his son. "But you did." In the weeks that followed, Benjamin's name began appearing in places no one expected. Not in sports columns or entertainment blogs, but in thoughtful essays, educational journals, and youth forums. His speech had been recorded by a teacher with permission and shared by the school. From there, it spread quickly, first to local networks, then national ones. But this time it wasn't about scandal. It was about strength. An article in The Atlantic titled "More Than Brady, a Boy's Voice That Changed a School" highlighted not only what Benjamin had endured, but how he responded. Interviews followed, though Benjamin turned most of them down. He didn't want to become a symbol. He wanted to grow quietly on his own terms. At home, things were calmer. There was more laughter at the dinner table, more stories shared between bites of food. Laura smiled more often. Tom, though never one to overtalk emotions, seemed softer, more present. One afternoon, Tom walked into Benjamin's room and found a draft of an essay left open on the desk. It was titled, "Finding My Voice." In it, Benjamin wrote not about being the son of a legend, but about discovering what it meant to speak for himself. He described the award ceremony, the silence that followed, the shame, and eventually the clarity. "I thought I had to be great like him," he wrote, "but maybe greatness is about being honest when it hurts. About standing back up, not because the world tells you to, but because you choose to." Tom didn't say anything when he saw it. He just sat on the edge of the bed and exhaled. That quiet pride, the kind that tightens the throat and stings the eyes, washed over him. He knew now that his son was finding a path no coach could draw up, no fame could define. A month later, the school held its end-of-year celebration again, this time informal, modest. Benjamin didn't speak. He didn't need to. He was there, not as the center of attention, but as a presence, strong, sure, calm. Several students came up to thank him. Some had struggled quietly with bullying or identity, and his words had opened doors they hadn't dared touch before. That night, over a simple dinner at home, Benjamin looked across the table and said, "Thanks, Dad." Tom looked up, surprised. "For what?" "For listening, for not trying to fix everything, for being there when I didn't even know how to ask." Tom nodded slowly, the corners of his mouth lifting. "You didn't have to ask." That's what love does. It waits, it holds on, even in silence. They didn't say much after that. They didn't need to. Benjamin would never be just the son of someone famous. He would be a writer, maybe a speaker, or something else entirely. But whatever he chose, it would be his. And that made all the difference. If this story moved you, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more powerful human moments. And don't forget to click on the video on your screen now to continue watching stories that will inspire your soul.